Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing fantastic and that you're all having a wonderful day. Don't forget to leave a like. It is a free and easy way to support the channel. It lets YouTube know that it should show my video to other people as well. It helps out the algorithm. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. By far, one of the most, this is not an understatement, one of the most popular news stories that we've had in a while. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, the $11 trillion company that owns the world, expressed during the company's third quarter earnings meeting that Bitcoin's market cap could potentially rise to 50 trillion US dollars. If you, for some reason, have been sleeping under a BlackRock, I don't know how you did it. These people came to the market and basically took it by storm. They themselves, the company, is holding hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. They got over 100K Bitcoin, I think in was it 3 weeks? It was something astronomically ridiculous. Since then, they've kind of, they are basically the new Coinbase, the new, I want to air quotes, the new MicroStrategy. Everything that they do, people look to as an indicator as to where something could go, how high the price of something could be, that kind of thing. They're in Bitcoin and have been for a while. We had news about this since 2017. However, the situation always is within crypto. If people don't, air quotes, have it in writing in front of them, or someone doesn't explicitly tell them, people don't believe it. These people have been buying up Bitcoin for a long time. I'm sure they're mining Bitcoin. They have their own operations, like you name it, the whole shebang. Larry Fink, before or maybe right after, I mean, it was a month or two before or after. No, it was before. The Bitcoin ETFs were even released. BlackRock put forth they have these investor email kind of things. I don't know what to call these things. My English is not there. I just woke up. You guys, my brain is not turned on yet. They have one of those investor call meetings, email, PDF things that always gets thrown around in the crypto space. And if you missed it, the idea always is, if you have a large amount of money, you typically diversify. Got it. But if you have big money, you really diversify. So if you have around $100 million, random number, you would put $1 million into this asset, $1 million into this, $1 million into that. That's one of the ideas of hyper diversification. You put it into foreign markets. You make sure that should anything go wrong, you are shielded in some sort of direction. So this is why a lot of times, if you've ever looked into this, you'll hear asset managers tell their clients, you should put 0.5% into this, 0.5% into that, 1.5% into that. Someone found the information from BlackRock and they told their richest clients before the ETFs were released, I think that people should be allocating, 70 to 80% of their portfolios into Bitcoin. And stupid me, I assumed that would have been, major, gigantic news. Here's this $11 trillion asset company telling rich people that they should be throwing a bunch of money into Bitcoin. This is around the time Bitcoin was maybe 20, 30,000, maybe even somewhere less. I don't remember. The ETFs end up launching. Bitcoin skyrockets up to 70,000, 72,000, something like that. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, BlackRock's in the market. And it was like, yeah, they've been in the market for a while. Larry Fink, a couple of months ago, went on to, I want to say CNBC. I don't know why. That's usually where most of these like financial people end up going. And he mentioned that he thinks that Bitcoin is like the new gold. Bitcoin's going to take over the world. Asset managers are into Bitcoin. And essentially, the only people who aren't really paying attention are once again retail, as we've been going over also for a long time. So here he is. He's at it again, saying that he thinks that Bitcoin's market cap could go up to 50 trillion US dollars. He's not the first person to predict this. He's just the most famous and richest. This was originally predicted by Roger Ver when he still believed in Bitcoin and wasn't advocating for Bcash. And I think 2 other people years ago. This is where like the original idea, I know a lot of people don't know, it's not as spoken about as much anymore. Bitcoin is so much of a major asset that you can't really go around ringing the bell anymore in the streets saying, you know, you're missing out, ding, 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 ding. Everyone should be buying, because all the rich people know, and this is why they kind of keep it. I was going to say keep it to themselves, but no, they are. This is why they're buying up all of it. The idea was always that Bitcoin was going to go to $1 million per coin. The last year, if you've been paying attention, and this is why I said this is going to be a very interesting bull run, because this is meant to be the precursor for the multi-million-dollar Bitcoin. The estimations, once again, sometime next year, offer a $200,000, a $300,000, a $400,000 plus Bitcoin. However, once you get to 2029, Plan B, JP Morgan, Cathie Wood, Novogratz, you name it, everyone's predicting $1 million Bitcoin during the next bull cycle. That's why when we had that thing sometime in the summer, there was a Bitcoin conference when, what's his name? Michael Saylor got on stage and said that he predicts it, like, what was it? Some weird numbers, like a $47 million Bitcoin by the year, what was it, 2040 or 2050? Everyone clutched their pearls and they were like, oh my gosh, what do you mean? These numbers were predicted a while ago. It's literally based off of supply and demand. The supply continues to dwindle. The demand is accelerating. We are getting news stories all the time of different countries who are going through terrible levels of inflation and interest rates. And people are, I mean, we've had it before. People are walking around with garbage bags as well. But usually we've seen the photos of pillowcases filled with money to go buy flour. These people are waking up. They're figuring out what Bitcoin is for, and they're buying as much as they can to literally shield them from their currency's inflation. Hearing, however, from Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, that Bitcoin is poised to have a market cap of $50 trillion, now people, I can say this 87 bajillion times. Larry Fink says it. Everyone's like, oh, now it's going to come true. And it's like, you didn't get that before? This bold prediction suggests that the world's largest asset manager could have a significant influence on Bitcoin's price. No, it's suggesting that rich people are already in the market and are buying up tons of Bitcoin. There's a very common misconception as to how much money there actually is on the planet. I will say this from my vantage point. I've had meetings, not like professional meetings, but like I've met a lot of people who have like a lot of money. You come into contact with people randomly, depending on where you are in the world. And a lot of people don't get like what big money actually means. And I say that from the point of view as someone who grew up in the projects, like, having nothing. You can't really conceptualize what money is until you see it or you hear about it, or like you're actually like in the throes of what's going on. There are people who buy like multiple homes, and I mean like investment properties, every single month. Like there's no real barrier for money for them. And a lot of times we will hear, look at that one company, look at how much Bitcoin they bought. And everyone goes, wow, only that one company bought. And what you're missing is that there are hundreds of companies who are buying all the time. Like the game is already locked. The Bitcoin that gets mined is being held by the people who are mining it. Any extra runoff immediately gets sold to banks or to other institutions. There's no new Bitcoin actually hitting the market. What you see, the fluctuation on crypto exchanges, is done on purpose by companies like BlackRock to move the price around how they need it to be so that they can accumulate more. The game is already set and won. Like Bitcoin has won, and it's just a matter of everyone else, you figuring this out and also being a part of the game as well. $50 trillion market cap. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Fink drew a compelling analogy by comparing Bitcoin to the U.S. housing market. Currently valued at $1.3 trillion. That's Bitcoin's market cap. If Bitcoin's market value reached the projected $50 trillion, it says a price surge would occur. Whoever wrote this article, like, get it together. I'm not being mean. You can't keep writing these $2 articles. It just doesn't make any sense. If Bitcoin, let's see, 10x, that would be 700,000. And you have another 5x. Is that 3.5 million? So between 3.5 million and $4 million is basically what he's predicting for the price of Bitcoin. And even that is seen as relatively conservative. If all estimates are correct, we will probably hit that by the year 2035, 2040, if not before. I'm trying to be as air quotes conservative as possible, because I'm not one of those people who's like, it's going to happen in a day and a half, and everyone ends up freaking out and running around. For those of you who do not know, and this is going to sound weird, real estate was not always an asset class. This didn't really begin until around the early 70s, where a lot of people, people really began to realize that if you owned a lot of property, you could start, getting rent from multiple different sources. But rent was, especially back in the 60s and 70s, there were a lot of, and still are, but like rent-controlled apartments. The idea, especially in the US in the 1970s, the economy was horrible. Like, not bad. It was awful. If you have never watched a documentary or a video or movie, like, look at New York City in the 1970s. Like, the US was actually completely falling apart. This was after leaving the gold standard. But people began to realize the more real estate you bought, of course, the more rent you would get. But there was no rent price gouging like we currently see right now. It was more of this is a steady way to bring in income. I can raise the rent, but I mean rent was being raised from $55 to maybe $57 over the course of I'm not joking. Like, if you have any older people in your life, like, ask them about prices, like, not about inflation so much, but like how things kind of remained the same, like with prices. It wasn't until the late 80s that the actual idea of creating real estate ETFs even joined the anything, like any kind of real estate fund. It was seen as something weird. Even in the early 90s, I watched a documentary with them talking about how the real estate market has changed so much because it's no longer seen as a commodity, if you will. It's now seen as like a legitimately strong asset class. It was because the value of things began to rise quite rapidly, and people realized, hey, if we own a lot of it, we can kind of control where the prices go. That's why I'm always screaming from the top of a mountain when it comes to Bitcoin, because we're at that point right now. It's the same exact thing when we heard about, for those of you who weren't here, the initial excitement for Bitcoin ETFs, the initial excitement came down from gold ETFs. The idea is when gold got its first ETFs, I think in the 90s. Was it the 90s? I want to say early 90s. Basically, gold's price swooped down a tiny bit. There wasn't that much interest. And then gold skyrocketed to where it currently is right now. And it's because of blah, 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 and the BlackRocks and the so-and-so. So this is the idea for Bitcoin as well. It's all kind of lined up together. This is a brand, and I have to say this because people keep forgetting it. You don't understand that this is a brand new asset class. Bitcoin isn't simply just like numbers on a screen that you can transact in. That's the original idea of it, but this is a it's the market cap is at $1 trillion, but you have to understand the power of what this is worth trillions of dollars. Trillions of dollars. It's a way to send money around the world, and I'll, air quotes, instantaneously through one network without needing any kind of intermediary. This is huge. This is actually world changing. We've never had anything like this before. The initial iterations of Bitcoin in the early 90s, like when the internet was just developing, were all shut down by the US government. We had PayPal that was also shut down, and then PayPal became more regulated. The initial idea of PayPal was meant to be like Bitcoin, but they couldn't figure out how to do it. And then we had DigiCash, which was also shut down. There was another iteration that didn't gain any popularity, and then Bitcoin popped up in 2009. Like, the timing is like Bitcoin's not, we're in the future, but Bitcoin's not that old. And 2009 is still not like far into the future, if you like catch my drift, like that kind of thing. It's still like, relatively as the internet was just getting started. And it's this idea that we don't need intermediaries. We don't need anyone to, I can send value at any time of the day. Bitcoin doesn't close down. Bitcoin doesn't go to sleep. And the rich people have caught on to that. When you get to a multi-million-dollar Bitcoin, that's what I was saying before, this is when people will actually begin to use it. You have all these people who are hoarding and gathering huge amounts of Bitcoin. They are going to rule the world. It sounds, I don't know if I told you. I have a good friend who I met a while ago, and it's one of those things where you're gonna sound crazy, but you have to say it. So he found out that I was an investor. I don't tell people. It's not not that you shouldn't, but it's more of a, why do people need to know? It's my life kind of thing. So we were discussing, I had known him for long enough, and he was like, well, what do you do? So I was like, I do things online. I deal in finance and yada, yada, yada. And I was discussing some of the investments that I'm into, etc. And then I mentioned crypto, and he was like, I don't understand that. Can you help me with that? And I was like, oh boy. So I tried explaining it to him in the least crazy way possible. And I was like, it's a payment network that can be used by anyone at any time. It's not used to circumvent banks and the monetary system, but you don't have to use the old system anymore because we have a blockchain that allows us to transact in value of any kind for 8 billion people on the planet. And he was like, well, what's the point of that? We have the dollar, and you have to keep digging further and further. And then at some point you get to the idea that the price for Bitcoin for me personally is not important, because I know that the price will rise, if you get that. It's more of the network effect of us needing and me wanting billions of people to be in this market to be able to benefit from the eventual price rise. That's what's important to me, is to know that there are now 100 million people who in some capacity are into Bitcoin, but I want to hit that billion number so that I can feel more comfortable with the idea of Bitcoin not just being owned and ruled by very wealthy people like BlackRock. That's what's important to me. So I gave him the whole shebang, and I told him what it was for. And I looked up and I saw his face, and you sound crazy when you say that there's a new system. Imagine someone being like, did you hear that there's a brand new Apple? You're like, the computer no, there's a brand new Apple. You can hold it up to a tree and it goes anywhere on the planet. I'd be like, oh my gosh, my friend needs help. But it's this kind of thing, and eventually people hear it, they learn more about it, and they get further into it. But anyway, got a little bit off track talking about digital apples, but yeah. He illustrated Bitcoin's growth potential by referring to BlackRock's entry into the mortgage market. Initially, slow mortgage operations accelerated as infrastructure improved, leading to substantial growth. He noted that a similar scenario could unfold for digital assets as well. Something big is on the horizon. I've been saying that for years. I've been saying that since we were at $1,000 Bitcoin. This has all gotten so much bigger and quicker than I ever could have actually imagined. I'm not joking. Like I thought we still had like quite a while to go before we got to this point. But no, we're here. The rich people are in the market. They're buying up as much as possible. To still see anyone who's in the market and who's skeptical, it's a little weird. I won't lie. Like it's actually kind of that you need to see Bitcoin hit $1 million before you, I don't want to use the term believe, but before you really start to take it seriously is a little weird, especially after everything that's been going on. But yeah, the anticipation is still that by the end of this year, we will have a $100,000 to a $120,000 Bitcoin, and next year, sky's the limit. So I hope everyone's been paying attention because big things are coming, and it's just a matter of realizing it. That's the BlackRock CEO, Larry Fink, has talked about a $50 trillion market cap for Bitcoin. And yeah, let's move on. Also, in extremely popular news and what I'm going to call people can't mind their business, Vitalik Buterin is a computer programmer, developer, coder. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't make waves. He doesn't go on to Twitter and argue with people. He doesn't, he's not that kind of guy as long as we've seen him. I don't know him in person, so maybe he's, a bit rough around the edges, but from what we've seen, he seems to just be a relatively normal, wealthy, rich nerd kind of guy. Very intelligent, obviously. For some reason, people won't leave him alone and won't mind their own business as to what he's doing with his own money. People years ago found out his Ethereum address, and since all coins built on top of Ethereum have an ERC20 address to them, people have been sending him their coins. You've heard this before because we've gone over this multiple times. However, it's getting to the point where it's just getting a bit weird that people don't have anything else to do with their time except for look through this guy's wallet. So what normally happens is that people send him coins whenever they make a new project. It's a very easy way to go on Twitter and go, oh, look, Vitalik Buterin holds my coin. And people go, wow, that's amazing. And then they all, at least years ago, were buying the coin thinking that they got in early because Vitalik is secretly, wink, holding on to the coin. People have sent this man so much money. I think it's millions of dollars worth of, which is also an analogy for how the world works. People keep sending rich people money and then bragging about how that person has gotten richer. And it's yeah, because you send them your money. So recently, this entire year, I don't know if it's because of the Ethereum ETFs, if people are trying to find something negative. I'm not joking. This is how people usually work. People who have nothing better to do with their times or who are losers, they tend to look for negative things online to try and persuade other people into being as losery as them. It's not a joke. That's really how life works. So people keep looking since the Ethereum ETFs into his wallet, and they look and see when he's received money and when he sold off those coins. That was an issue last year, an issue, air quotes, because people sent him so much money that he I think sold $500,000 worth of some coin, and he donated it to some relief effort for somewhere around the world, and people got upset with him. Can you guess why? It was because A, he sold this meme coin that people had jumped on, and B, it was because he had swapped it into Ether to have extra liquidity because these other coins don't have liquidity. He swapped it into Ether and then sold it, like, for a good cause. But the people were upset that he sold Ether. So we're back at it again. A wallet linked to Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin made a final deposit of 649 ETH, $1.72 million. The transaction deposited the final ETH to Paxos after the wallet received 1,300 ETH worth $3.21 million from another wallet on the 19th of September. Initially, the wallet was funded by Buterin with 70,000 ETH in 2022. In the last 11 days, the wallet has transferred 1,300 ETH to Paxos. The sell-off comes during the recovery in Ethereum. No, so what I honestly think is happening is, I think he's probably draining all of his wallets. I think he's purposefully taking his money from his known wallet and he's putting them onto crypto exchanges and then moving them outside to another wallet. Why would this man want you? Why do you need to know? And why would he want you to know how much money he has? Think about it. Do you go around with a sign above your head telling people exactly how much is in your bank account at any given moment? How much money you have in your pocket? So people are also upset because he keeps moving his funds around. I can't imagine not having other things to do except for paying attention to someone else's money. You know how sad that is? Like sad. S-A-D-D-D. There's multiple D's there. I assume he's been doing it for a while. Because for those of you who don't know, he has a lot of Ether. Yeah, all the people who were initially involved in the creation of Ethereum, I think they each got, 20, 30,000 ETH back in like 2015, 2016. So I can only assume that they have more now as they were mining it before. Yeah, he's probably taking all of his coins onto an exchange and moving them to a brand new wallet address that no one knows about because people don't know how to mind their business. This was also major news, by the way. This happens about once a week. He's either donating, I'm not joking, donating to, and it's not even the words a good cause. It's to the causes that he wants. And then people get upset when it's not to the causes that they want. I don't know who needs to hear this, but when the bull run happens and you all become mega 100,000aires and or millionaires, if any of you have ever obsessed over someone else's money or Vitalik Buterin's money, I hope that when you become rich, that's no longer a topic in your mind, in your soul that you have to deal with. Like, I hope that you only then focus on your money and no one else's. I'm 1000% being serious here because it's so weird that this keeps happening over and over. This is exactly why, once again, last point, why the creator of Litecoin left. If you weren't here years ago, the creator of Litecoin, he was like, yeah, I gotta sell all my Litecoin and I have to step away from the space because people were so obsessed with what this man was doing every day. He was posting, just had an omelet, wasn't that good, and Litecoin's price would go down. And he was like, what? What's wrong with everyone? That was also, don't forget, Vitalik Buterin said at some point he's going to leave Ethereum to go live on an island or build robots. I don't know what he's going to do with all his money. But I'm assuming that people will also freak out then as well. Anyway. That's the Vitalik Buterin moved around his own money. His own old money. And people had a problem with it. Nothing else to do right now in the world. Nothing else to do. I do hope that you've somehow all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.